Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. Show up at almost any Black family gathering, and inevitably, the conversation will lead to a debate over which historically Black college or university, or HBCU, is the best. What school has the best football team? Which marching band stands out? Which has the most students and a strong legacy? What school is going or has gone under? There is immense pride among HBCU graduates, but what about Black students who attended a predominantly white institution, or PWI? How does their experience differ? And which option is better for Black students today? A fascinating conversation is coming up next on Another View, right after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. Of course, always, we start out with something that will hopefully help the community, and I know tons of us now are really dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of anger, trying to deal with conflict resolution, with everything that's happening in our country today. And one of the counselors that we had on our show a little while ago, Kirsten High, is doing a group session. It's called Managing Your Emotions Well Group. And it starts this Saturday, which is October the 4th, October the 4th, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It is for adults ages 18 plus. And if you want to learn about how to deal with stress, how to deal with anger, conflict, and just how to live better, this program is for you. There are minimum 8 weeks completion to earn your certificate, and there is a cost. You can find out more about this at 757-615-3329 or khigh at e3centerllc.com. That phone number again is 757-615-3329 or khigh at e3centerllc.com. And I think that would be something that will be helpful for a lot of us, very much so. So later in today's broadcast, we're going to catch up with Norfolk Councilwoman Mamie Johnson, who has news to share about the upcoming 5th annual Community Connect event. But we begin our program with this question. Which is the better educational experience for an African-American student? Attending a historically Black college or university, or HBCU, or attending a predominantly white institution, or PWI. Our guests today took different paths. 2 are graduates with strong careers, and 1 is a school counselor who guides students through the maze of selecting a college to attend. And they all have some thoughts. Mackenzie Moody is a 2023 graduate of Hampton University at an HBCU, and she is now a producer with WTKR News 3. Hello, Mackenzie.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great.
You know, you're a woman after my heart being a producer.
Yes.
And Marquise, did I get that right?
Marquise
Thomas is a 2025 graduate of Virginia Tech, which is a PWI, and he is now looking to start his career in public relations. Marquise, how are you?
I'm doing pretty great. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
And joining us by phone is Lakeisha Mays, who is a school counselor. Hello, Lakeisha. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
It's good to have you with us by phone. Thank you so much for joining us. So before we start, I want to give some history about HBCUs for those in our audience who may not be aware. And this is from Professor Henry Louis Gates in his PBS documentary, Making Black America.
The very first HBCU in the country was Cheyney University. The second was the University of DC. The third was Lincoln University. And the first independent HBCU funded and founded by Black people was Wilberforce.
Since 1837, more than 100 historically black colleges and universities have been founded in the United States. Most in the half-century following the Civil War, and most in the South, where 90% of the black population lived until the start of the Great Migration. These institutions educated the vast majority of black college graduates, intent upon building a new future for themselves and for the race.
In 1881, Booker T. Washington is called from Hampton Roads, Virginia, where he's been a student and is now the most eminent of the graduates who are now working at Hampton. And he's called to open a school in rural Macon County, Alabama, Tuskegee.
So that just gives us a little bit of history as to how HBCUs came about. But the reason why we're having this conversation today is something that happened at Howard University this summer, where the university decided to change its financial platform. And students wound up getting big bills that they were not expecting. And because we have social media, many of the students there took to social media because they were very unhappy with the way that Howard was handling the issue, and they were concerned because they basically had 30 days to pay tens of thousands of dollars for tuition, etc. And so the conversation on social media then exploded into more of a HBCU versus PWI in terms of what is the better experience. So I want to hear from you guys. First of all, Mackenzie, you went to an HBCU. Yes. How did you make that decision, and what was your experience?
For me, choosing where I wanted to spend 4 years undergrad was a big determination was the program of journalism. I knew I wanted to be a journalist, and I just knew that I needed to pick somewhere that would mold me, give me, the opportunities I needed to become who I am today. But also, I knew what HBCUs were, and I went to a predominantly black high school, and I was like, do I want more years of being in my community, being around people who look like me, who have the same hair as me in some ways? And I decided I have the rest of my adult life to be a minority. So, for a few years, I think it would be nice to continue being around Black people, Black students, and just Black excellence. A lot of my family went to HBCU. They went to A&T in Greensboro. So,
that's where my husband went.
Okay, amazing. Go shout out to the Aggies out there. But half of my family was pulling for me to go to be an Aggie. And then I had a few other cousins who actually went to Hampton. And so they kind of put that bug in my ear of like, A&T isn't the only one. There's other options. And I visited Hampton. The campus was beautiful. I was like, oh, we have a waterfront. It's going to be my home by the sea. And I got to visit the School of Journalism. I met the dean at the time, Dean Plummer, and she just wowed me. She had Emmys on Emmys. I was like, oh, yeah, like I know that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And then potentially later, guide other young Black people to be where I am. So that kind of sealed the deal for me. Like the first visit, I was sold.
Did you ever look at a PWI, predominantly white institution,
I did.
as a alternative?
I did. My mom actually went to a PWI. She went to Chapel Hill in North Carolina. And so, I mean, it wasn't out of the picture, but once I visited Hampton and just things just started lining up, I was like, I think this is pulling at my heart. Like it makes sense for me to be at an HBCU. So that's just, yeah.
Okay. Marquise, you had a different experience.
Yeah.
You went to a PWI. How did you make that decision, and what was that experience like for you?
Well, for me personally, having gone to a predominantly white high school in Virginia Beach, I feel like Virginia Tech, UVA, JMU, like those are the only schools I really knew of. I wasn't necessarily aware of the other options that I had at the time, that being HBCUs, and I was really influenced by a lot of the places my friends were going or talking about applying to. And I did early decision for Virginia Tech, and I got in. So that was really the only school that I applied to. And I was ready to go there just because I'd seen the financial aid package and was like, oh, okay, wait, this is pretty good. And so it wasn't really a discussion with me and my family. And my parents, they didn't necessarily have much influence just because they both come from a military background. And although my mom like did get her degree online, she kind of stayed, I guess, like on the back burner and just let me make that choice my own. She was really excited for me. And I knew that Virginia Tech was a good school, so I just decided to go there.
So there was no pressure for you to, or did you ever consider an HBCU in your search?
Yeah, I consider it a little bit. The only thing I guess really holding me back was the financial aspect of it. Having seen, my mom, she had a friend whose daughter was going to school the year before me, and she was going to Spelman actually, and I witnessed a lot of their financial struggles, going back and forth with the school, especially being out of state, how expensive it was for them, and they didn't really know like how they were gonna pay for it. And I think just like seeing that whole experience, I guess thought it was a little bit disorganized, and I was like, I don't know if after doing like more research, because financial aid had also been a discussion at that time, I realized that maybe going to a PWI would be easier from a financial point of view.
Did you find, what was your experience like then being a Black male?
Yes.
On campus? You were definitely in the minority.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm assuming, correct? Did that matter to you, or did it cause you any issues while you were there?
Yeah, it mattered a lot actually. And it's something that I feel like I actively thought about in the beginning. And although I'd grown up around white people and gone to predominantly white schools all my life, I feel like one of the huge things that I noticed was a little bit different was, I guess, the financial background of a lot of these kids. Just because Virginia Tech, for context, it's a lot of New Jersey kids. So they come from a lot of money. So that was like, I feel like one of the main things that I noticed and was really prominent. And in the classroom specifically, I noticed myself being the only one in the room most of the times. And although I will say there are a lot of other Black females, but for Black males, at least in my college, which was School of Communications, I never really saw other people like myself.
Wow.
Exact. And it's Marcaius. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it
fine.
right. Say your name correctly. I want to also talk to our producer, Lisa Godley. Oh, she's not ready. I'm sorry. Because, Lisa, you also actually have had the experience of going to both an HBCU and a PWI. And I'm just curious as to how you made your decisions and what you see as the difference between the two.
I was so excited about starting Norfolk State University that it was almost the very next day after we graduated from high school from Western Branch. We myself and a good friend of mine, we were right there. We were on campus taking summer classes before, we even started. We wanted to have hours before our freshman year really kicked in. So we were really excited about being on campus. I tell people all the time, I would never trade my HBCU experience. It was amazing. The professors were very nurturing, and I learned a lot. And when I got to Northwestern University to get my master's degree, one thing I noticed was when I was at Norfolk State, if a professor saw me on the yard, they would walk up to me and say, "Miss Godley, don't forget that paper is due, on this particular day." When I got to Northwestern, they gave me a syllabus, and it said when things were due. And if you were a minute late getting whatever it was that was supposed to be in, they did not accept it. And I remember seeing people who did not look like me being sent home. It was it was an emotionally, trying time, because I remember wiping tears many a night because I was like, oh my goodness, they're sending people home left and right who aren't getting this. And, it was just, I was so happy that I'd had that nurturing experience at Norfolk State. And when I got to Northwestern, I think it helped prepare me for what I was going through, because that was a lot.
And you were also saying, I think in our conversation, that the way that people react to you, when they ask you about your educational background, that the emphasis is on Northwestern and
each and every time, every interview I ever went on, if I say, I got my undergraduate degree from Norfolk State University and I received my master's degree from Northwestern University, the attention immediately went to Northwestern. You went to Medill, and it's like I'd never said Norfolk State. So
why do you think that is?
Well, I I have my own thoughts, but I don't think they see the merit of an HBCU. But you hear a Big Ten school, you're like, wow, you went to Northwestern. I don't know if they're thinking you got in there or what they're thinking, but I'm not sure what's actually going on in their minds, but I know what goes on in my mind when I hear that reaction.
There's a stat here that I want to read to the audience. Today, 40% of all Black engineers, 50% of all Black lawyers, 70% of all Black doctors, and 80% of all Black judges are HBCU alum. Now, you could say, how do you react to that, Mackenzie?
I mean, that makes me, it just confirms what I kind of feel about HBCUs. We are constantly churning out, leaders and success and excellent people who work hard and deserve, the positions that they achieve. And I think 80% of Black judges, that's good.
It's a big number.
Yeah, that's a big number.
757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. Did you attend an HBCU? Did you make the decision not to attend an HBCU? And how did that work out for you in terms of your educational journey? 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Markias, you brought up the financial piece, because you were able to get more money, I assume, from tech as opposed to an HBCU. Do you think that that's an issue, something that more people need to consider, especially for minorities?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say yes to your question, and especially like when we're considering like the time period that we're in right now. It's like a really hard time, and when you're graduating, thinking about the return on investment of your degree, thinking about it like either being less or more with the financial aid, and me looking for a job right now, I'm not necessarily, I guess, seeing that return on investment, but then I also think about I didn't pay for it to begin with, so it's a little bit less of a burden, and I think with the prices of schools only going up, it's something that you really have to consider. And I know that like a lot of people from, I guess, rougher backgrounds than I was, it really helped them out. And I know that influenced their decision. The other kids I knew at school who were on scholarship, and I had some friends at school like express me that they would have gone to HBCU had they gotten more money.
Go ahead.
I think that, that is disappointing to know that, students have to think about that or just, struggle to pay for HBCUs. And because I think that it's important that we invest in our HBCUs because they were made for us when we weren't allowed to go to the other institutions.
Yeah.
I think for me, my experience was a little different in choosing Hampton. I had a partial scholarship. And I'm not. Hampton is a private school, so the cost was a little bit more than other HBCUs, especially in state, because I'm originally from North Carolina. But to me, the return investment that you talk about, I just had hopes for where and thankfully look at where I am now. I probably would not have gone down this path where I am now if it was not for Hampton. And just the partnerships that the School of Journalism had to get me the job now. So I definitely understand, and it's disappointing to know that strays people from choosing a HBCU.
Yeah, and I mean, the other complaints that you hear too, the older dorms, the lack of the latest equipment, the latest in computers, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Also, which you have to weigh.
Yeah.
Does culture outweigh?
I mean, for me,
some of that.
I think it did a little bit because I knew that, like, I don't need all those things. I felt like I didn't need all those things. I just needed my passion, my drive, and and God would take me the rest of the way because I am a believer. So I was like, I think this cultural experience for me is important, no matter, if we don't have this, whatever we're lacking. I just felt like we would be resilient enough as a campus, as a culture, to try to figure it out.
To overcome those.
Yeah.
So, Lakeisha, let me ask you a question. How do you counsel young people, and particularly African American students, in terms of which direction they should go when looking for a college?
So I think that usually when I'm working with students, I let them start the conversation. I'm going to meet them where they are. So what direction are we going? And a lot of times for us, the conversation doesn't just start with, I'm only planning on college. The students are often thinking about the multitude of options available to them after high school. So we kind of start there and then work to sometimes college. And in that conversation, particularly with the students that I work with, a lot of times the conversation is, I want to go to an HBCU. So oftentimes that's what we look at, and we use the Black College Common App so that students can apply to multiple HBCUs at one time. We make it as seamless as possible. We work with them on making sure they understand the financial offers that they get from different schools and what that means over the 4 years that we hope they'll be there and finish up a degree. But we really meet the students where they are and walk with them through the whole process. We're really lucky in Hampton Roads that we also have access advisors. So we always have the school counselor and the access advisor working as a team to support our students.
So do most of the predominantly white institutions offer more in scholarship than the HBCUs, or does it really depend on the student and on the school itself?
It really does depend on the student and the school. I'm honestly disappointed sometimes in the offers that students get for scholarships from some of the PWIs, and I think that is not a fair comparison, maybe, because like one of our local HBCUs has a scholarship for students that live within a certain radius of the school. They get a full ride when they combine the scholarship offer with some of their other aid that's available. So the students are going for nothing. So it makes their other offers there's dim in comparison. In our state, Norfolk State and Virginia State both offer that scholarship, the VCAN scholarship. So their local students do have access to funding that really reduces the cost of going to college. It really just removes that barrier for students.
Lakeisha, I remember back in the old days, dating myself, but for many of us who went to college in the 70s and 80s, our counselors, sadly, determined that based on the skin tone, whether or not you were college material or whether you should be encouraged to go to trade school or to the military.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with trade school or the military. Please hear me say that. But to be discouraged from going to a 4-year university, has that attitude changed among counselors?
I sure hope so. But I will also offer that attitude sometimes, I think, is not just based on race anymore. Sometimes it's based on economics, based on the students, what has the student shown us in high school. And because my mother also graduated from high school in the 70s, and she's a white woman who also was deterred from pursuing a college career. By her school counselor. So I know that that's the story for so many people. I don't have that experience with my colleagues. The counselors that I work with when I go to conferences and things, I do feel like that they're not pigeonholing students. They're not assigning students to a slot. Like, this is what I think that you should do, and so therefore let's move forth and do it. Now, we do some things like we want to make sure all students create an FSA ID. We want to make sure all students do the basic steps for financial aid. And if you don't have a plan, then we want all students to apply to a local community college because we need to have a backup just in case. And that's a good option because we can do the transfer programs and move on to a 4-year school, or we can do some of the workforce development programs. Either way, you're going to need some aid. so let's do the financial aid. And either way, you're going to need to be admitted, so let's do the application. So we do have some things that we try to globally do for backup plans for students to have something in place. But I would be, and I feel like I have a good enough rapport with my students that they would share with me if they felt like someone was doing that to them. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about the conundrum some Black students face in deciding to attend an HBCU, which is a historically Black college or university, or a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution. Our guests are Mackenzie Moody, a 2023 graduate of Hampton University and HBCU, Markias Thomas, a 2025 graduate of Virginia Tech, who is currently looking for a PR job, those of you who are out there listening, and which is all Virginia Tech or PWI, and Lakeisha Mays, who is a school counselor. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Let's talk to John in Norfolk. Hi, John. You're on the air.
Hi, I love your show.
Thank you.
I listen to it whenever I can.
Appreciate it.
I just wanted to make a comment that I hope would provoke discussion, and it comes off your producer's comment. And for context, I'm an old, fat, white guy who went to college in the 70s. I know now at this point of my life a lot about historically Black colleges and universities. My lily white son interned at Tuskegee one summer in advanced genetics and at Hampton one summer. So I'm well aware how magnificent those institutions are. I just wanted to respond to something your producer said about in interviews being asked about Northwestern and not about Norfolk State. I'm a lawyer. I've been at 4 law firms. I've been on the hiring committee of 3 of them. I've interviewed thousands of people. And the reason we do that, I think, and I'm guilty of the same thing, is not the distinction between an historically Black college and university and a non-historically Black college and university for undergraduate, but rather we're really focused on the graduate education. When I see someone who went to a particular law school, I focus on that. If they graduated college and didn't get thrown out for killing someone, that's good enough for the undergraduate. I think the most important thing, and this ties in with the degree of comfort and everything else your guests have been talking about quite articulately and correctly, is an element of comfort is making sure your undergraduate has the program that you want to get you if you want to do further education or go into a job. There are hundreds and hundreds of excellent schools in the United States, including many historically Black colleges and universities. You've got to look at the program and make sure they have the program that you want.
Okay. John, thank you so much for the comment. We really appreciate that. Mackenzie, you want to respond?
Well, I definitely think the last part that you said there about making sure that it has the program that you want, because at the end of the day, that is a big part of, your future and why you would be going there anyway. So I think making sure that it has the program that you need. But I would encourage, young Black students to check your HBCUs first. That's just, my point of view of check if they have your program. And if they have your program, then include that in an option. Obviously, the financial burden is something to think about. But I think prioritizing that, and if they have your program, that's even better, because then you can really consider that of where you want to spend your undergrad years.
All right, our phone lines are lit up, so I'm going to take a couple of calls. Let's talk to Tamara from Hampton, or Tamara.
Yes, hi. Yes, my husband and I are both alumni of HU, Hampton University, the real HU.
Hey, here we go. For those who may be unaware, there are 2 HUs. There's Howard University and Hampton University. And Hampton University always says they are the real HU.
Hampton University, we the real HU.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. So our youngest son is currently a third-year student at MIT, and we're military, and we've lived in and out of the Hampton Roads area for the last 30 years. We pushed him to apply to Hampton. He got a full scholarship, and we thought that he'd be interested, but he was just like, no, I don't want to go here. We attended lots of activities at Hampton. We go to the football games. And I really wanted him to have that Black experience.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to academics, that's where the university really fell short. He's in mechanical engineering. And so when we would go to activities for that, the school just really didn't have the facilities or the program that he wanted. So,
and he didn't consider any other HBCU. Like I'm thinking A&T for one, in terms of engineering.
He looked at lots. He looked at A&T. He looked at FAMU, who has a robotics program. But when it came to comparing those schools to the other schools that he was applying to, Caltech, Carnegie Mellon, UPenn, Virginia Tech, they just weren't on par with those programs. So he sacrificed having that Black experience for the academic prestige and the programs at these PWIs. Okay. And I think that's sad because I really want our HBCUs to be up there with those other
schools. Yeah. Thank you so much for the call. I'm going to get some response from our guests. Machias, what do you think?
Personally, although I don't necessarily know your son's personality, I know that at least right now, a lot of these, I guess, larger schools, because I know Hampton, is the student body that large?
It's all right.
Yeah, I know that.
It's not huge.
Yeah, the atmosphere and I guess having a larger student body seems really attractive, especially to younger people or my age. And I guess from my personal perspective, it really does come down to kind of just like the brand name and like prestige of the school. And although these HBCUs are extremely prestigious in their own right, a lot of the times, like when you're just looking at it for face value, the name like MIT or some other schools, they just outweigh it, because I feel like HBCUs haven't, I guess, although they are established, I'm trying to figure out the correct way to word this, but just don't feel as established in our headspaces, I guess.
So the question though is that because you get a lesser education at an HBCU, or is it because society looks at a predominantly white school very differently than it looks at a predominantly Black school? Mackenzie.
I think that, there could be different resources that HBCUs maybe don't have access to, but I don't think that means the education is lesser. I just think it's different. But I see your point of, if somebody sees MIT and they want to be an engineer or that type of thing, you look at the program, you look at the resources they have, you look at the labs and all these different things that maybe an HBCU doesn't have. So off of face value, a student is probably looking at that like, well, I'd probably have better opportunities here. Yeah. So I think that is what you're
Lisa, and I'm gonna talk to Lisa Godley again. Did you feel that your education from NSU and Northwestern were comparable in terms of the education piece?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I, and people ask me all the time why I went from an HBCU to a PWI. Mm-hmm. And I was the students that I was working with that were in the journalism program at Norfolk State were getting, they were getting amazing jobs coming out of school, but I wanted to do television. Mm-hmm. And I was noticing that a lot of the folks that were coming out from mass communications were getting jobs behind the scenes, but I wanted to be in front of the camera. I wanted to be a news anchor or a reporter. And I looked at Northwestern, and they had like a 98% placement rating for the students coming out that wanted to go into TV news. And that was what was the deciding factor for me to go, to Northwestern for my master's degree.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. Although the two producers in the room in here were rolling our eyes, but okay. No, we're just teasing. But that does make a difference, doesn't it, Mackenzie? It does, yeah, absolutely. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Lolly joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Lolly. You're on the air.
Hello, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, doing well. I love this show. I love this topic. my Bennett sister.
Yes, Lolly and I both attended Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina. Another, the second of two, or there are only two, all-female HBCUs, Bennett and
Yes.
Spelman, and so we went to Bennett. Yes.
Yes, and my sister graduated from Spelman.
That must be some
so
interesting
for me-
conversations in your house.
It was good. It was good because I thought about Spelman, but I will say for me, I'm from Alexandria, and I graduated from a Fairfax County public high school. And at my high school, there was probably about maybe 100 Black students, grades 9 through 12. And I never thought about going to a PWI. It was going to be an HBCU. And I think also, with having my sister attend Spelman. And I've never heard of it. I think I went to it was a college fair, and I think it was at Howard. And I went by the Bennett table, and the representative was there. My mother, who was a guidance counselor at my high school, actually, and I was fortunate to have her and as a mother in her knowledge of HBCUs. She knew of Bennett. So she said, Lolly, let's go down, let's look at Bennett. I said, okay. And I knew when I walked on that campus that this was for me. Bennett College was for me. It was a smaller version of Spelman to me, but just walking, it was quiet. Miss Bennett showed me around, going into the dorms, talking to the young ladies, the warmth from them. They all had their books open. I think exams were coming up, and it just felt right.
Yeah. I can agree with that comment 100%. I mean, even though I tried to run away from campus my first semester because I was homesick, but once I got used to being there, Lolly, I agree with you 100%. Thanks so much for calling in. We appreciate it. So we know that this comes down to a personal decision.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you guys something. And I'm going to start with you, Markias. What is a myth or something that you wish people who don't go to PWIs or who didn't go to one would understand about going to a PWI as a Black student?
I think one of the biggest myths is that people who decide to go to PWIs are trying to whitewash themselves, or I guess necessarily forget their Blackness. And I don't know. I've always found that one kind of offensive, just because, like we've said, it comes down to a variety of factors. Your personal background, the financials behind it, and sometimes it really PWI could just have a better program, or say a kid, he just likes it because it's a football school. Something as simple as that, and I feel like it's really damaging, kind of to, I guess, go back and forth and have a consistent argument on both sides to say, oh, well, you are whitewashed and you want to forget your Blackness, so that's why you went to a PWI. And then, like, somebody who went to a PWI, like, attacking somebody who went to a HBCU and saying, well, you don't have the resources, or you guys aren't as big, stuff like that. I honestly think that's probably one of the biggest myths. Yeah.
What about you, Mackenzie? From an HBCU perspective, what is something that you would like those who attend the PWI to understand about your experience?
I would say that there is a misconception out there that most HBCUs and administrations are messy, quote unquote, or I think to that point, all HBCUs or universities have their challenges. And I think, they have to address issues or, when they come about. But, I don't think that should stray people from attending an HBCU, because I've just heard that before of like, I don't want to lose my money, or it's messy, or it's unorganized. I mean, there's probably some departments that are a little bit organized, but I feel like that's everywhere. Like, some people just have challenges they have to overcome, but I don't think that should sway people.
Okay, I'm going to try to get one more call in before we have to go. Al joins us from Portsmouth. Hi, Al, you're on the air.
How you doing, Barbara?
I was calling reference the comment, well, a couple of comments earlier, referenced the selecting a program, particularly a graduate level program at a PWI over at HBCU, and I'm an HBCU grad. I think it's the way that programs at HBCUs are marketed versus the ones at PWI. And a part of that is because a lot of the programs that are excellent at HBCUs compared to the other schools, it's relatively recent. In other words, the engineering programs at a place like A&T versus MIT or any of those other schools, it's relatively new when you start comparing it to the track records or the histories of places like MIT. So I think I think HBCUs we need perhaps to do a better marketing program, telling and not targeting our students. I'm talking about minority students, but all students. About how good our programs are. Right.
Okay. Al, thanks for the call. I appreciate that. Marketing again comes down to money.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think there's a lot of, I'll speak for like journalism in the School of Communications. I think if we really push into the students' faces, like these are people who graduated from Hampton, for example, and went and did this, that, and the third. You know, this person won an Emmy. This person is won a Pulitzer, like all these different things. I think if they see the success, because there is success and we are excellent, when they see that, they're like, oh, if I want to do this, I know I should probably go to Hampton because this program is good. So I mean, but it does come down to funding. If you don't have the money for, all the different ads and all that stuff, then it could be a challenge. But I think, maybe you use your alumni, use people who still come back and let them talk to students, let them, or for the high school visit days, like let them go and speak to students and put the school out there or the program out there.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I think another thing we're talking about is kind of social media and everything like that behind it. Specifically thinking about TikTok and a lot of the rhetoric I see on there. Primarily like a lot of the negative, views on kind of how you mentioned earlier, how the whole situation with Howard and how that was, very misconstrued on social media and kind of blew up into something a lot larger than it.
I was surprised that from reading what actually happened at Howard to this whole discussion about, how awful HBCUs are was really disconcerting.
Yeah, no, it's something that I'd seen for years. I see negative and positive, perceptions of HBCUs on social media, but a lot of the times I see the conversation being, oh, when you can't get in touch with your financial aid office a week before school, or when you have to cry on the phone to try and convince them to give you more money. Just, like negative videos like that, when that's only one person's case, and I really don't think should represent the whole school. But another huge thing is I would want to talk about the positives, and that I feel Black students like broadcasting their experience and the positive and the community behind it. I feel like if I'd seen that choosing colleges, it definitely would have swayed me to go to HBCU, just because I didn't necessarily see that then, but I see it a lot more now.
That's really that is a powerful statement.
Yeah.
So
I think
go ahead, Mackenzie.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I mean, I think it depends on people's, your upbringing maybe, and just what you're exposed to. Because I had like a large family who was involved with HBCUs and went to A&T, I was exposed to it from like early age. I was at homecoming and seeing just what that looks like, and I was exposed to a HBCU homecoming before I don't even think I've ever been to a PWI homecoming, and so for me that was what I had, that exposure. So I can understand if it's not out there as much, if you don't have family who's involved with it. So social media is a big game changer now, because people can go
as long as it's used properly.
As long as it's used properly. Yeah.
Tell me about it. We are out of time. Can you believe that?
That was so quick.
Absolutely. But I really appreciate you all joining us, having this conversation. Your honesty was just tremendous. So thank you very, very much. And we will be right back.
I'm with Marcellus, and you all are checking out Another View. Don't go anywhere. Check us out.
And welcome back. Norfolk Councilwoman Mamie Johnson has served the citizens of Ward 3 since 2014. She is a career educator working in both Norfolk and Virginia Beach Public Schools. She is a graduate of Norfolk State University, and she joins me now to talk about the 5th annual Community Connect event coming up this month. Councilwoman Johnson, I called you Mamie because we're friends, but but at the same time, I am curious, since you've been hopefully heard some of our conversation, and you attended an HBCU. Is there? Do you have any thoughts on HBCU versus PWI?
Let me tell you, Barbara, and yes, I will call you Barbara, and you may call me Mamie.
Okay.
Yes, I am a proud graduate of Norfolk State University. Behold the green and gold. And as far as an HBCU, it is where many people need to be. It provides all types of culture, no matter what your background is, no matter what your gender, no matter what your social economic situation is. Norfolk State University, as well as other HBCUs, provide scholars an opportunity to go anywhere in the United States and beyond. So I am glad that I had a chance to attend a HBCU.
Yeah,
I am
absolutely.
proud.
Me too. So let's talk about the 5th annual Community Connect. What is that and what is going on?
So Community Connect is a citywide event that I created for the citizens of Norfolk 5 years ago. And it provides citizens an opportunity to come together and experience the city's resources, get involved with community involvement, healthy living, financial assistance, senior and youth services. It has everything that citizens could imagine they would need at their fingertips.
And it's happening on Saturday, October the 11th from 11 until 2. Is that right?
Yes, at the MacArthur Center Green Space. And if you don't know where that is, it's where the city of Norfolk usually has the ice skating rink, 300 Monticello Avenue.
Now, this is the 5th year that you've done this. Has the attendance grown each year?
Yes. As a matter of fact, usually at our Community Connect Day, we can have anywhere from 200 to 300 people come in and out within that 3-hour span. And the wonderful thing is, Barbara, with the people who are attending Community Connect, they also attend the other program in the city of Norfolk called Believe in Learning. So the two different programs, but they're well connected, and we have citizens who appreciate attending both because both has something to offer for everybody.
So there are all kinds of vendors that will be there and all kinds of events. You're doing line dancing, yoga, public safety work, jump rope. I mean, there's something for everyone, it sounds like.
It does. We do Tai Chi. We have everything that citizens need to get them involved so that they can live a better and healthy life. This year, as always, we have free screenings. We have breast screenings. We partnered up with the Centera mobile unit.
Oh, excellent.
We have free hearing. We have diabetes. We have vision. We have everything. And the wonderful thing is, Barbara, it was fascinating to our senior citizens to be able to come to a one-stop shop and get their vision checked, their eyes checked, their diabetes checked. And last year, I met a young lady, 42 years old, and it was her first time getting a breast screening. right there on site.
Wow. So is this just for Norfolk residents, or can anyone come?
Anybody can come. It's just hosted by Norfolk to invite our citizens, but anyone in the Hampton Roads area and beyond is welcome to join us that day.
So, Mamie, why did you start this, and what was the catalyst behind it?
I started this because I was a Civic League president in the community of Broad Creek. Mm-hmm. And, Barbara, let me tell you how cool Broad Creek connects with Norfolk State University and other HBCU schools. Did you know some of the people who live in Broad Creek, they also helped to build Norfolk State University?
Oh, wow.
They also still live in Broad Creek. So as a Civic League president, they charged me with providing everything, and I call them hubs. And my vision is to create hubs throughout the entire city of Norfolk. Mm-hmm. What that means is that there are places within communities where citizens can go and get the resources that they need. They don't have to worry about coming down town. It's right there in your community. The vision has extended right now at the Jordan Newby, the Broad Creek, Jordan Newby Anchor Branch Library. Mm-hmm. We even have telehealth. Any citizen can come into the library and make appointments, talk to a doctor online using virtual. What we did, though, we've expanded that. We're now partnered with, the city is partnered with Tidewater Community College, which means go anywhere. We now have the PCC Health Mobile on site at the Jordan Newby Library, where our nursing scholars come to experience their clinicals via mobile, right there in the community. So all of this has come together over the last 5 or 6 years, and it's something that I wanted to do for my community, and my colleagues on council as well as the administration has supported me over the years for Community Connect and Believe in Learning.
That is fantastic. It is Saturday, October the 11th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the MacArthur Center Green, which is at 300 Monticello Avenue in downtown Norfolk. The event is absolutely free, and according to the note here, it says, don't forget free 2-hour parking in city garages. So you have no excuse, absolutely. Mamie Johnson.
We've taken care of all of it.
All of it, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and wishing you the best for this event. And thank you, our audience, for the privilege of your time this past hour. The bottom line, get the best education that works for you. It's an individual choice, be it a community college, trade school, HBCU, or PWI. Find the one that fits your career goals and go for it. You can listen to this show again or any of our programs at WHRO.org, on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Next week on Another View, it's the Another View Roundtable. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Today's program was produced by Another View intern India Ray Davis under the guidance of show producer Lisa Godley. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Hamlee. Thanks so much for listening, and let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.